She's the one who posts the audios and all the pictures.
Yeah, those are no pictures.
I don't know where she gets them from. Yeah, but they're nice.
But yeah, good one, I like it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, some of you in this class, oh, Abigail, hello. Excellent. So, some of you may not know who Rumi is. Can I say a few things about him?
Yes, you do.
Thank you. I can't really say much about him just yet. Let me just very, very quickly tell you about the Persian culture. It's in the Middle East, so it's desert. They have a lot of oil, a lot of natural resources, but if you have a lot of talent, but you don't have the tools to bring those talents to the surface, then you can't really use them. What's the use of having lots of money, but not having the proper mind or the brain that knows how to use money well? Your definition of pleasure is wrong. Your definition of time is wrong. Your definition of happiness is wrong. So eventually, like the prodigal son story, you're going to waste whatever power has been given to you. In the case of Persia, ever since oil became a commodity, something of great value, especially to the West, because the West is an industrialized environment, and
West Coast or West Side or West part of America?
the Western world, America, Europe, yeah.
Ships were
Sure, yeah. And so when your culture becomes industrialized, you realize that you no longer really need donkeys, you don't need axe. What you need is oil to put in the car, for bulldozers. And so you look around and you ask yourself, where can you find petroleum? And you look at it at Saudi Arabia, Yemen, the Middle East. And so the only way you can get their oil is first make sure you have a good amount of power to invade somebody's land, destroy their land, abuse their people, chop their countries or their properties in various pieces and give them to the people you like. And so that in itself creates a good amount of oppression inside, the people of the culture. If you also have a religious tradition that talks about human beings at one point having lived in paradise, but because of certain things that took place in the Garden of Eden, they were caught by God. They were ashamed for having done something. God expels them. But the human being, once expelled, is now a brand new entity. He has the memories of what it means to live in paradise. That's comfort, that's home, that's stability, that's light, enlightenment, that's being fulfilled in all sorts of ways. And whatever desires you may have in the Garden of Eden, I've never been there, so I wouldn't know, but probably very pleasant. And they don't create regret or remorse or guilt afterwards. But when they come down here, when they're expelled, and you can see it, it's Genesis, it's in the Quran. The land is barren, you always have to work hard, and it doesn't really matter where you end up. Relationships are barren, you have to work hard to make something good grow. Classrooms are barren, you have to work really hard. The human mind, the human heart is barren. your job is barren, life is just stupid. And you have to work really, really, really hard to make it work for you, injecting it meaning so it can become somewhat valuable. And then even after you have done all of that, you get sick, you're in your deathbed, you review your life and you realize it hasn't really meant much. All that aside, Rumi comes from a culture where he has been programmed, he has this software on the inside that yes, as human beings, long time ago you lived in the Garden of Eden. But because your parents were crummy, i.e. Adam and Eve, they did something wrong, you're down here now. Your task in life is really quite simple. Read the Quran every day, think religiously, feel religiously, live religiously. And when you have this software that says down here on planet Earth, this is really not your home, what happens to you is you have a great longing. It's like a volcano. Pressure keeps getting built inside you. And sometimes it comes out as screaming, sometimes it comes out as praying, sometimes it comes out as crying. And so that is what lives inside Rumi, a young man who lives in a culture that has given him the software. It's a nice story. If I have done justice to the culture and how people are created in that particular culture, but it's very difficult for us to really understand. And in as much that all of us, including myself, desire to have emotions that live inside Rumi, to live inside us as well, it's enormously difficult, nearly impossible, really. Because whenever something is grown inside you, it's like an infant. And if you want to make sure that your child grows up to be healthy, you need to put that infant in a very protective environment. Make sure that no contaminants, no toxins ever enter into his or her physical space to create emotions and thoughts that may be problematic in the future. Having said all of that nonsense, I have forgotten Chris's question. What was it?
Separation.
Separation. Okay. Separation. We are separated from a whole host of things. You've taken the trouble to leave your house, the comforts of the bed, your home, your companion, to come to Laney, dump. But you don't long to go back home. You're fine sitting in this classroom, even though you're separated from your house and your companion and all the things that are familiar to you. You don't long to go back home. You're separated, but there is no longing in it. My parents are in Roseville. There's a great distance, about 100 miles. I don't long to see them. I'm separated. There is a distance between us, but there is no longing. Just because you have some distance between you and the thing that you like or love, it doesn't mean that there is longing. It just means that it's just not there. So the question then is, what exactly must you be separated from that you long, you yearn to be united with it? If you have a toothache and the pain is really, really quite insignificant, you don't long to be with a dentist. You don't long for comfort. I mean, you may, but it's not as intense. If, on the other hand, your toothache, the cavity is hitting the nerve, and it's robbing you of rest, of peace, of comfort, of laughter, of eating food, of resting, then it's like you have been expelled from the Garden of Eden. You know, that you want your comfort back. You want to be able to laugh with your friends. You want to be in a place of comfort when your companion is there. You don't want to moan, you don't want to groan. So it seems that separation and longing happen only when there is a good amount of pain. You know, all of us in this class, we have loved people romantically speaking. And love is a strange beast, you know, whether you love Jesus Christ or you happen to be like the movie Pretty Woman, you love a prostitute or you love a gigolo, whatever the case may be, it matters very little. As long as you love, there is going to be separation, there is going to be longing, you're going to be moody, you're going to be angry because the separation is keeping you from union with your companion. So, since human beings have a tendency of corrupting everything they touch, let's talk about separation and how healthy it is. Okay? And I'm going to use the story that Dante gave us. And I'm going to make my own story, really. So here is this young man named Dante walking around Lakeshore. All of a sudden feels like he wants to have a nice cup of coffee from Pete's, maybe Starbucks. And so as he's walking to the coffee shop, he sees this really, really, really attractive young woman. And her name just happens to be Beatrice. And what happens? Go back to the many times we've talked about this in this class. You see something out there, and for some strange reason, you find it to be attractive. And if the attraction is intense enough, you begin to fantasize. You begin to create the psychological narrative. I wonder what her name is. I wonder how old she is. I wonder how often she walks around the lake. Is she single? Is she attached? Is she married? Does she have children? Is she as attractive up close and personal as she is from a distance? And if you're a human being, something really interesting happens to you. You're like our good friend here. You read a book, it tells you that you're from Vietnam, that Vietnam has this culture, and for some strange reason, even though you've never been to your country, you were born in America, you don't know much about your history, the way the book expresses your culture and the way it shapes begins to, of course, shape your identity all of a sudden. You become very attracted to it. And whenever you become attracted to anything, if the attraction morphs into desire, if the desire turns into interest, if the interest turns into infatuation, if the infatuation turns into obsession, if obsession morphs into love, you want to touch it, man. You know, you have all these intense emotions inside you. And these emotions live inside your physical body. And they need something physical to connect to. You just can't have the desire exploding inside you. It doesn't work that way. You'll just go crazy. You know, It's like you love someone, you want to scream that you love them, but you don't know where to go, what to do, whose ears you can trust. And so like Ali, the cousin of Muhammad in the Islamic tradition, you say, since I can't really trust people, and since I can't find anyone who's as mature as I am, therefore no one can really understand me, I'm going to go look for a well, this hole in the ground. And I'm going to shove my head into this well and scream. And what the well will do is it'll echo back. And then I can hear my own voice, but it has echo now. It will go inside me. And all of a sudden I realize I'm in good company, the well. So the thing you need to understand about separation, longing, yearning, passion, is that because they live inside the physical body and because we are human beings and we want satisfaction, we will do whatever we can to bring our desires to life. Your desire, Zachary's, eventually you'll find yourself at the shop and you'll wait for the pizza to come your way. And then you'll put a slice on your plate and you put it in your mouth and you say, my God, this is delicious. Now you have union. So whatever you desire, whatever you long for, ultimately you want to touch it. You want to taste it. But Dante is really wise, Chris. He's really, really wise. This is a man who sat back and he studied. He knows what we human beings do. You enjoy the first 20 cups or first 20 sips of coffee, but then you get tired of it. Your taste buds adjust themselves, and then after a while, it just becomes normal. And then you become somewhat indifferent, and then you become bored. And then when the class is over, even though your cup is half full, you just throw in the trash. It's no good anymore. We do that to coffee, we do that to money, we do that to people. Dante knows that when there is this great intense desire inside you, with any intense desire there is longing. As long as he's over there, and once in a while we can text, maybe for 10 minutes out of the 24 hours, we can just connect on the phone, I will continue to love him. But if he or she was to come and stay with me Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I won't yearn for him anymore. I won't long to see him. I won't desire him as much, or her. By his or her mere presence, overstaying his or her welcome, he contaminates the way I feel about him or her. I love Plato from a distance, but the more I read the dialogues, the more familiar I become, and the less I long to be in the world of ideas. I love philosophy as long as I don't walk into an academic environment, and as long as there are no philosophy professors, because then they will bring philosophy that lives in heaven. They bring it down to Laney, they bring it down to San Francisco, they bring it down to Berkeley. And there is politics involved, there is bias involved, there is temperament involved. And the philosophy I used to love now turns into crap. I keep looking at the clock because I want the class to be over. This is not what I signed up for. I signed up to be in love and to stay in love, to have yearning, to have longing, to have my passion protected at all times so I can live with it for the rest of my life. But now I realize when I touch it, it just turns into dust. And all that remains is a memory. So you know what Dante does? He's a young man. He sees a young woman. What does he want? He wants to get close. He wants his shoulders to touch. He wants to hold her hands. He wants to gaze into her eyes and be mystified. He wants to hear her voice. Maybe he wants to kiss her. I don't know. But then all of a sudden, God sends down a revelation to him. Dante, he says. And Dante is paying attention, you see. What are you doing? Dante says, I was walking, minding my own business. I just tried to be an American, not being a Vietnamese. I like rap music. I like video games. I have no business going to Vietnam. Just minding my own business. All of a sudden, this woman appears to me like this book. And she begins to occupy more and more space within me. Morocco scored. Yeah, please go. Thank you. And Dante is about to take a step forward towards Beatrice to see her up close and personal. And he says to himself, man, from far away, she just looks so good. And then as he is about to make his move, there is another revelation. Dante, Dante, God says to him, do you know that she has a big pimple on her nose and one on her forehead? And Dante says, whoa, 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 pimples on her forehead and her nose? That's not very attractive. But he says, no, I must have been daydreaming. And then he takes a few more steps forward and there is another revelation from God. Did you know that her voice is very, very, very high-pitched? When you say, hello, my name is Dante, she's going to sound like this. Hi, my name is Beatrice. Could you really tolerate that tone of voice? And then again, he says, no, I must have just been daydreaming. I'm not worthy enough for these revelations, you see. He takes a few more steps forward and there's another revelation. God says to him, she hasn't showered for 3.5 months. She smells really, really bad. And this third revelation, just stops him. And so he longs to be with this woman. But he also has come to realize that because of the pimples, because of the tone of her voice, because of the bad smell, what's waiting for him really is disappointment. He still longs to be with her. And something very strange happens to Dante. He sits and he cries because he now lives in two worlds. The perfect world of ideas and ideals, imagination. He wants to be with this woman and the awfulness of life. Her voice, her acne, the fact that there is no running water so she can't shower. How could he bring these two worlds together? the world of perfection and the world that's filled with wrinkles. And after many, many, many sleepless nights, many tears, many prayers, he has this fourth revelation. When you love something or someone, you all of a sudden become religious. You worship. It doesn't have to be Yahweh, but you worship the person. And when you're in love, love blinds you to all of their flaws. You don't see pimples. You don't care about the tone of their voice. You don't care how bad they smell. That's what love does. It baptizes the person. Both the lover as well as the beloved. Just baptizes them. God says to him, if you want to continue loving Beatrice, do not allow yourself to be human. What the hell does that mean? He asks God. Not to be human. To be exposed to a cup of coffee, have that cup of coffee create desires inside you, where you long, yearn to have your thirst quenched on a cold day with a nice cup of coffee from Starbucks or Pete's. And yet you're telling me not to have it. That makes no sense. And God says, whatever human beings touch, they corrupt. Not because they want to. That's just how it is. Again, he asks, so what must I do? Love her from a distance. The hell does that mean? Desire creates this passion for union. I want to be with Beatrice. How the hell can I worship her from a distance? Up close and personal, you'll see pimples. Your love will suffer cracks. Up close and personal, your ears will be contaminated by her high-pitched voice. Your love for her will suffer more cracks. Up close and personal, she will smell so bad that your union, you will put it on the cross and you will say, I want to run away from her. Don't do that. Love her from a distance. What do you mean? It means from a distance you will look at her. You will see her long hair, silky, big brown eyes, fair skin. And you will continue to fantasize, to imagine, to daydream. You will never physically be intimate, but will fantasize the intimacy in your imagination. But to love from a distance means you're always going to remain broken, because the human part of you wants union, physical union. But the more divine part of you says no. The world of Caesar and the world of God, they shall never meet. The problem with being broken is you're always going to bleed. You're always going to be in discomfort. You're always going to long. It's like you're always going to have your toothache, this cavity, hit the nerve. Always. that if you don't see Beatrice from a distance, your imagination, your thoughts of Beatrice, they're like thorns inside your soul, always poking at you. How could you rest? How could you eat? How could you smile? How could you have a good time? How can you define pleasure as smoking and drinking and chit-chatting with your ridiculous friends? How could you be focused on work, on school? How could you live in the conflict between Caesar and God? How could you be patient enough to keep praying and having your prayers go unanswered? How could you remain broken for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years? How the hell are you going to express your brokenness? What the hell do you get in union? You long for coffee, you drink it, you become indifferent. You long to get married, then you say, I want a way out. You long to have children, then you say, I want my own space. You long to graduate, then you find yourself in a cubicle at a crummy job. Everything we touch, everything, eventually you just get bored.